Keith Livingston here with Healthy Intelligent Training. I'm here with my great buddy Johnny Marr.
Yeah, we've known each other a long time.
A long time, yeah. Yeah. So
The days of Ron Brinkett and Mal Norwood.
Yeah.
Good to see Mal today. That was good.
Yeah. For those watching today, we're just at a pro meet in Bendigo, a professional meeting, and Johnny decided to hop in an 800 metres.
Yes.
It's not an 800
A
metre
bit
runner.
of a shock to the system, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's just to keep your legs turning over, is it? Or what was the purpose of that?
I think just a family affair, and I've got a new child, and my partner's ex-pro runner, so she knows a lot of people in the circuit.
Yeah.
So it was sort of a decision to come just join in, have a bit of fun.
Yeah, that's what it should be all about, right?
Yeah, it's great. Although I suppose you just preach what you practice, and students sort of hear what I'm doing, and they just follow. I'll probably get some boys doing pro running now, so we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, getting on to that with the students you coach.
About 30 years of it.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time. It is a long time. Or more, actually. It's more.
Because you've been teaching woodwork and trades. At Marcellin College in
Bulleen. Yeah, for 30 years, and I worked a bit at St Kevin's before that.
Yeah.
Sort of got the feel for it at St Kevin's. Was thrown into the athletics area there. Had a couple of good students that I was working with there. They went on to represent in their fields and that. And then that was only a short-term gig, and then went across and got a job at Marcellin, and didn't have the scholarship kids, and so I just go out in the yard. I might stand up on top of the football oval, up high on the hill, and we look over all the ovals, and I'll just see a kid just running across the field, and I just keep my eye on him. I walk straight down to the oval, walk straight across the oval, and have a chat to him. And sometimes you get lucky. You know, the kid says, "Yeah, I'll turn up tomorrow and have a run for you." I do that a fair bit, and it's hard. You're competing against AFL, and you're competing against soccer as well.
AFL, for those overseas, is Australian Football League, the aerial ping pong.
Yes.
Football.
Yeah.
In Victoria, it's the number one sport.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So we're competing against some team sports.
Yeah.
But once they get into to see what I've got to offer and how it can improve their other sports, then I've got to get them for 6 weeks. If I get them for 6 weeks, I keep saying to students, just give me 6 weeks with you. Don't just come once and think it's hard and then move on. I said, just commit for 6 weeks. If you don't like it at the end of 6 weeks, no problem. I won't come chasing you in the yard again. And once I get most boys through a 6-week program, it starts to become easier. And then my rate of loss after that is minimal. Yeah, I probably might lose out of, say, let's say last year I had 15 year sevens turn up. I've probably lost 3 of them, which I think is not a bad ratio. You can't hold them all, and some of them will go off for a year and then come back the next year. They'll come back later on and say, "Oh, I want to try again," because they can sort of see what I've got to offer. And then you hook them, and just a passion. Like just last Sunday we had just on a Sunday, I had 13 students turn up to my house and 15 parents. The parents went for a walk in Warrandyte. I'm lucky enough to got a beautiful place in Warrandyte at the moment on an acreage.
Yeah.
So just an absolute beautiful part of the world, and on the river. And they all parents went for their walk, took the dogs and the whole bit, and we went off and did our Sunday run.
Did they make you a cup of tea when you?
Yeah, well,
guys came back?
we all had breakfast at the end.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I put on a bit of a breakfast, and I asked the students, what do you think? How'd you like it, and that, and they just said, because they've been doing a lot of the other runs that I do with them, and I said, look, the variety of change was as good as anything. So
just to get out,
something
countryside,
different. Get something different,
yeah.
and out where luckily where I live is an old mining area, so there's lots of big hills and lots of areas they can just challenge themselves with. I have to explore it more, and then once I explore it a bit more, I'll open it up, bigger and bigger to them. But yeah, it was pretty successful, and I've got my new bunch of year sevens every start of the year. At the very start of the year, I get my new fresh year sevens, and they're looking as good as ever. And I've probably at the moment, on average, around 10 have turned up this season to try it out, really. And I'll keep most of them. They're pretty good kids, and I'll keep them. But yeah, getting them through that first 6 weeks is the challenge. And you've got to look after them. You've got to. I'm a little bit different with coaching. A lot of coaches will stand by the sidelines and just sort of work with them from the sidelines, but I don't do that. I run with them. In the early days, I used to be able to use all the senior boys and quite a lot of the squad to jump in on my sessions and get bits of my sessions and work with me, and it would actually help me. Now I'm at the level of probably jumping on a year 9,
because you're getting a little bit slow.
Yeah, definitely. So I jump on a year 9 now, and him and me are like head to head. It's like
grim death.
Yeah, it's like there's this year 9 I've got at the moment. He serves it to me, but I always try to make him work as hard as I can. So look, I hope I don't get down much lower, because we don't go to primary. So if I get past the year 7 level, I'll be in trouble, because I'll make sure that I keep running with the students. It's just the way I do it. I just love running with it. And the senior boys are fine. They don't need me breathing down their neck now. They're leading the bunch, and they take that responsibility to lead the bunch, and I set up the sessions, and then I say, look, boys, I'd love to be able to stay with you, but I just can't. It's way too quick. And
but like, to them, you're a bit of a legend.
Yeah, look, like I do a lot of. I'm lucky enough, had some success lately with the marathon, and ran an Australian record. I had my eye on an Australian record in the 50 plus, and I just missed it. And then I said, I'll wait till 55, and then I went after the 55, and I got it. So on a Melbourne marathon course, which is not the easiest back end.
No, it's windy and hot from my memory when you ran that.
And the back end of that course is quite challenging, going up. They throw you into a lot of hills and things like that. Just talking about the marathon, and it was just a goal that I had, and lucky enough to get that goal. I've had a lot of goals in my time, and you set a lot of goals. I don't always get them. I've missed a couple, but it's nice to get one. It makes it all worthwhile. When you set a goal, no matter what it is in life, you set a goal and you actually achieve it. It's special for the time that you're in that, and then you set your next goal. And that's what I suppose I'm lucky enough to have won a lot of championships with the team that I have, and we've won 20 years in a row last year, and we had
at what level?
AGS. It's our competition.
State competition, state public schools.
Public schools
Yeah,
and that,
yeah.
and so we're lucky enough to win 20 in a row.
Public schools means private schools.
Yeah, private.
Yeah.
So
okay.
and we're up against all the scholarship boys and all that. So and we don't have any, like there's none.
You don't have any running scholarships.
None at all. We just find them in the yard and pull them out of the yard.
So it just goes to show, because it's basically a Lydiard based program for kids.
Yes, definitely. Endurance based, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt. Like the boys always say to me, they look at this Strava, like everyone's can watch everyone's training, and it's the weirdest thing in the whole planet. You know exactly what everyone's doing in it, and
check it out.
Yeah, well, I basically don't use it, and so they're all looking at it. The boys get used to my long running, and then they look on everybody else's Strava watching. This kid's only running 10k, 10k jogs, and that's his longest run. I said, well, that's up to him now. That's not the program that we work here. And I get my year sevens. The achievement for my year 7 boys is probably after about 10 weeks. The test or the whatever is a 10k run. It's not. We don't race it. It's just running a 10k run. We just go for a long run. And for a year 7 kid, that feels like a decent way. It's a decent run. And then that becomes the norm. That kid just 10k runs easy, but it just takes him a few weeks to build to that. You've been preaching and telling me about the Lydiard ways forever, and it's true. It's what my program's built on. I had a lot of success. I've had a lot of students, as I was getting back to the 20 years that we'd won, we had a bit of a celebration to celebrate that, and the amount of students that have come up and just said, you've saved my life, in the sense of what I gave them, in the sense of strengths, and that was got them through life. And it, that long running, and the just persevering and resilience and those types of things, that's what the students get from the program, resilience. And I've had students that have become quite successful. One was talking to me and was a lawyer, and I said, look, I was in a pretty bad way, and I just went back to my running mentality, and it got me out of many holes. So it was nice to hear that. And most of them will always pick up a pair of runners and go for a run. And they said, oh yeah, I went back and I was doing a 15k run the other day, and so it's nice to see that they don't always have to compete, but it's in their blood now, and they'll have a running life, healthy life and those types of things, which that's pretty pleasing, especially when you can go back and talk to them about those sorts of things. The things you've been teaching me throughout the years from my own training, and then just putting it into the students, is I suppose the reason why we're being fairly successful. We've had a few top end runners, but it's our tail that wins us championships.
Yep.
The tail is.
They're the workers.
Yeah, the workers, definitely. The kids that just keep turning up, and the story is, everyone wants to get in my team, and I had a kid that was in this one age group, was ranked about 10th, and every week he'd come to me and he'd go, what can I do next? And I'd say, right, well, this week you've got to add this to your program. You've coped with what you did, I added last week. He goes, yeah. And he'd go off and he'd do those extra little things that, that would need to be done for that week and that. And then I said, how'd you handle that? And he'd come back and, I want more. I want to be better. I want to be better.
Yeah.
and then he'd go off again. And this took probably 3 years. He goes, I want to be in that team by this. He had this goal of 3 years.
Yeah.
So this went on for about 3 years, and this
He
kid
wanted
was
to make the school team.
yeah, he wanted to make the world team.
Oh,
go to
that's the one
Worlds.
that goes to the world champs.
World
Okay,
champs, and
yeah.
he knew about it.
Yeah.
Because my other teams had been lucky enough to have 5 teams go to world championships, and
Representing Australia.
yeah, at school
yeah.
level,
Yeah.
and been lucky enough to actually coach the winner, which just it was just amazing. And team wise, we got 3rd place, just pipping out New Zealand in 3rd, which they're a great team to beat in that. So, so this kid, he'd come in he had this massive goal, set his goals, and looked. To be honest, I didn't know what he could do, and I said, I'll just he keeps coming. I'll keep telling him what to do, and to keep building his program up, and he just started to sneak into that top 6, 7th, because we needed about 6 boys and that. And then he broke into it, and then he broke even further, and he ended up, by the time we were ready to go, he was my 4th best runner. And he'd come from 10th, and he'd got rid of other kids that I would have thought was far better than him. But he was just persistent. And he was just a skinny little kid, tiny little kid, and ended up, going to the world champs and had a ball. And I suppose it's just a memory. But he set his goals real early. He'd get a long goal and very stubborn. Just wanted to do it. Maybe stubborn's not the right word.
Determined.
Determined.
Yeah.
Determined. To really just, I want to make this thing. I want to do this. Because I suppose when you see other students come back and talk about world championships and things like that to others, it feeds it. So it's just one of those stories that come along. It's a good system for the boys to get into. And I suppose the luckiest thing I suppose with the program is that I don't pick up many injuries. And I think that's probably a huge help, because I can rely on the boys. The ones that go off and do a bit of something else and come back, or the only injuries I ever pick up is from another sport that they might play. They'll do something in a footy game, but through the ones that just take on running, very, very rare that I pick up an injury. And I think this is from building the base, getting their foundation nice and strong, and building the pyramid as high as we can. Because we've got such a big base, and building the pyramid up so high, when we push them, the pyramid's so strong, it doesn't fall over. I can push it, and we have a big racing season. There's a lot of race. We race week in, week out, and for a young kid, that's we have about 12 races, and just consistently. I think there's a holiday period in the middle there. We get about a 2-week break, but it's 12 races in a row. Just keep going. And they learn how to handle that and how to perform when it counts. So and we're right just in the start of it now. We're 6 weeks out. So what I do to the students is when they come to the new year, I say you need 6 weeks to get fit, and I do a bit of a countdown to our first race. And every kid that keeps joining into the squad, I said, right, you're on the 8th week. You've got 6 weeks to get fit. And last week was the 6th week, and now it's getting less and less. And I think what that does, it builds momentum, because I'm doing a bit of a countdown, and they sort of start believing that this 6-week thing is what it's all about. And it's sort of, you need motivators to keep them going. You know, to them, when they start at the start, that's probably 10, 12 weeks before their first race. So um, to set that for a young kid, that's a long-term goal. You know, that for a young kid, that's a long-term goal. For you and me, that's like 2 minutes. But for a year 7 boy or a young kid, 12 weeks seems like forever. So I've got to give them something to keep them motivated to get to that goal. So they're in that countdown. We're in 5-week, countdown to our first race.
And that'll be a cross country, I suppose.
Yeah, luckily at Marcellin we luckily host the first race. It's a evening race, like school knocks off, and the first race kicks off about 4:30, and it goes till about 6. So we get it in just before dark. We get the races done just before it's dark. So luckily they're on our home ground. So we get, and look, I fire the boys up pretty big for that first round. I said, look, this is a grand final. If we want to win this year, let's come out, fighting, see what the others have got, and then we'll sit, we'll weigh it up after we come out like a grand final, and go hard as you can, boys, and let's see what we've got, and then we can weigh up the season after that, after that meet. Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about your championship teams, but one of which you had the individual winner of the world schoolboys cross country.
Yeah, Kyle.
Yeah.
Martin.
Yeah, at the time you had a few major injuries, and so we switched you to triathlon for a while, and you took to it like a duck to water. I remember that.
Yeah, the endurance events. I had a big heel spurs on the backs of my heels, and I was one of the first to get them that I sort of ever came across. And then they became like half a golf ball stuck on the back of my heel. So they came in from the side, pulled the bony growth off, and ripped them out and chiseled them out. And I took up doing triathlons, and got into the swimming pool and got on the bike and met a few people that could help me out, past athletes, Guy and a few of these, Guy Green, and was a top runner, and got into bike riding instead, and off I went, and lucky enough won the Olympic distance in my age group, so and ran the second fastest time of the day, and I was 37 at the time, so I was pretty happy, fastest 10K
for the open,
all the age groups,
all the age groups, down to under 23s.
Yeah. So I was pretty happy with that run. It was a good run. It was a good day, and lucky enough to win. Yeah. And that was good.
And you also set the record. I think it's still standing at Noosa, the Olympic distance.
Yes, tries. We broke a record there, and it wasn't a world champs or anything. But
it's still quite a major.
It's one of the biggest.
Circuit.
It's one of the biggest in Australia. So look, we got into tries, and very time consuming. The riding and everything, and but it's a good part of my life that I enjoyed a lot. Met a lot of different style people. But I learned a lot about fueling the body, and I've picked up on I'm learning every day. So we've picked up on the high fat diets, which is absolute amazing.
Let's talk about that in a second, but we'll stay with your world championships that I know you've won. Yeah. You won the World Masters Games. In Melbourne, in your age group. Yeah, we won. Set a record which still stands for the half marathon of 67 flat. Wasn't it?
Yeah. It was broke 67.
Did you? Yeah, I didn't realise that. I thought it was 67 flat.
Yeah, around about that. Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, you know better than me. But it's around 67 or right on the mark, Australian record.
And
so
that was around the Parkville
the zoo,
course.
around the zoo.
Quite a rolling, heavy
rolling hills.
course. Yeah, so it wasn't an easy course.
Yeah, and that week I ran 30 and. At the start of the week, it was around a 10k at Albert Park.
10k road.
Yeah, around 30:02 back and off.
Yeah.
And I've never broken 30 minutes on the road before. I was a bit disappointed. I actually backed off because I thought I got 3 races this week. I thought I'd better back off because I was winning. And then the next 2 days later, I ran a 8k cross country.
That's right. And then you won the half marathon.
And then at the end of the week, I had to run the half marathon. And it was just one of those times in my life where things are going well and happy, and just there's a lot to do with that. Your mindset is the body. I can do it if my mindset's right and I'm happy and I'm in a really good space. It can just roll. And of course you've done the training. But mindset and all the training. It's good.
Yeah. So now let's get back to we were heading in the direction of diet.
Yeah. Look, the triathlon PP, my first triathlon I did, and I did the Olympic distance. I love that sort of distance, 2 hours, mainly because I've come off a marathon and I found that 2 hour mark. I could just put the foot down the whole way, and it didn't matter. I was invincible. Invincible. But as soon as you start to go into 3, 4, 5, 6 and Ironman 9, 10 hours, it's a whole ball game, a whole different ball game. And I suppose the diet or the way that I train for marathons and that would allow me to get through and sneak through and get past that, because I was running 216, 220s. It would sort of allow me to just dabble into that zone of, not the greatest, but I could get through it.
Total glycogen depletion.
Yeah. The scientific knows. I'd get to that and I'd just sneak myself through and I'd get through it, But I knew there was something not right. I've known it for a long time, years, because you get to, 3 hour long runs and just absolute struggle home the last 10, 15 minutes, just not because the body's not wanting to do it, but my levels are just gone. So I used to get the old jelly beans in the back pocket and just feed myself sugar to get myself home, and it seemed to work. But again, when you went to the Ironman, if you don't get that right, it's all over. It's a disaster.
So I think we touched on that. All the years sort of blend together for me, but it must have been a couple of years ago as we speak now. I was down at your place and we were talking. Definitely. Well, you were telling me that you were feeling tired after school trying to run with the kids.
Yeah, I would go out. Definitely. I would do a normal school day and go out for training runs with the boys, just jogging along, and my head was like spinning. I was like, well, I just got to balance myself here for a bit now. Like maybe I didn't eat right, and it was just like, it was pretty hard. And we were just jogging, and I just imbalance was not right. And so this went on, and then I'd do a long run. I'd be, as I said, I can do 2 hours 20, no problem. But when I start sneaking over that 220 mark, my head starts spinning. I start sort of, just getting into a bad way.
You run out of fuel.
Basically.
Because you got used to running on only one fuel, and that was glycogen or glucose.
Carbs.
Carbs.
So that was it. And then we had the discussion and talked about the high-fat diet. I was looking for something, and I was getting ready to try to attempt to break Australian records for marathon, and the body was healthy and that, and you gave me the key that unlocked the problem, because I'm getting older, I had to sneak my marathon times out further into that danger zone. I'm in the 230, 240 sort of zones where that's danger for me, because I know that when I start pushing that far, that in training, things start to happen.
Yeah. But if you stay on this, what I call fat adapted,
yes,
you get adapted to the fats, and then your body starts to preferentially use those fats as fuel.
It's a whole new world.
Yeah.
It does take probably 6 weeks or more to let the body flip into it. It's not automatic. Don't get it wrong, because it doesn't change overnight. It takes time, especially if you're someone who's may have been, a sugar person,
sugar burner. Yeah.
It takes a while.
Yeah.
So don't think that you can just do it like that. It does take 6 to 8 weeks, and then all of a sudden it just kicks in, and I could do 3 hours. I was taking nothing. Like, I'm not a thing.
But you were eating a lot of what would you typically be eating?
I would just real. I suppose you set me on a pattern of high quality butter. That was one thing that I made sure. Avocados, eggs, bacon. I was. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I was buying fatty bacon. I didn't buy the lean stuff. I was buying the bottom, the more fattier bacon, the better.
Yeah.
And then just the meats that we were buying, we were just making sure that there was fat on the meats, and that was, I suppose, the kickstart of it all.
The bad bacons are the ones with nitrites in them, the additives, and they're very, very salty.
Good quality, but with the not lean meat. I just added we had the good quality fatty meats, and all that sort of thing. So, and I was hunting around for, as you do, you hunt around for avocados at a reasonable price because they're fairly pricey. So, you'd shop around and try to get it, because I was going through a lot of those. And I got rid of the sugars, really, to be honest. I got them out of the diet, and it's not something I stay on 24/7. Like, I don't stay on that diet all the time, but I know if I'm going to do something, I get on it. And now I've sort of probably at the moment I'm half on it, what I call half on. But it makes even my working life easy. When I'm on it,
because you don't get hungry.
No, I had to tell myself I'll get to like 2:00, and I'll be thinking, what's wrong with me? I'm not even hungry.
Yeah.
I had to tell myself to eat. So I had to say, I have to eat.
Yeah.
I should be eating. I'm training 180k a week.
Yeah.
I'd have breakfast. It was a good breakfast, and that. 2:00 coming, I wasn't even worried about food. Where before, like, if I didn't eat every hour or two, pop something in my mouth, it's like I would be like, oh, I'm not. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, well, the fat adapted diet is, and it works, it's worked for you, and you set that Australian age 55 record, doing it.
Yeah,
full of energy.
Yeah.
But there are some people out there who say it's rubbish, and they know all about it.
Yeah, look, I suppose it's changed my life in the sense of not the shorter stuff. I'm talking about the long stuff.
Well, the other thing I was a bit concerned about when you were saying your symptoms, they're the symptoms of type 2 diabetes. You're possibly heading into type 2 diabetes, which is not fun.
No. Look, I'm not. Yeah,
and a lot of distance runners tend to go that way.
Go that way. Okay.
You just look around.
Yeah.
And look at some of the guys getting around a few years down the track.
Yeah.
And okay, they're a little bit older than middle aged maybe. But there's fair bit of midriff fat there. You have
Yeah,
to
no,
say.
look, I'm as lean as they come.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not
Well,
much on me.
just 2 foot blood vessels, your arms.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Your,
Just that's it.
your legs are probably 3 foot blood
Yeah,
vessels.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
It's not you, no, but
yeah, it's just one of those things. It's
Yeah.
just I enjoy the way I am, and I suppose lucky enough to just have a new boy, so I've got to make sure that I'm in shape.
Yeah, well, as we talked, John became a father of a little boy,
Axel,
Axel,
Axel, 6
Fox
weeks.
Smart.
Yeah, Axel Fox.
Yeah,
And he's a new light, shining light for me.
yeah,
It makes me want to keep doing everything and stay healthy.
Yeah.
And which I will.
Yeah.
And touch wood. And just keep.
And Carolyn, your partner,
Yeah.
she's a former athlete too.
Yeah. She's in the Kathy Freeman era.
Yeah.
And ran lots of 400s, and then eventually got into the pro circuit.
Yeah.
And that's why we're in Bendigo.
Yeah, okay.
That's why the whole circle's come back around.
Yeah.
And gave me the opportunity to come and see Keith.
Yeah.
And had a lovely dinner.
Yeah.
And it's been a good day.
Yeah. Well done.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Good stuff.